We are Ole Miss Rebels. As Mississippi's flagship university, we dig deeper, see farther, work harder. We pioneered human organ transplants. We helped prove Einstein's theory of gravitational waves. We are conducting life-changing research that solves the problems of today. We are Ole Miss, transforming lives and the world.
Hey, welcome to the Palmcast with Stephen Willis. We're going to start in a few minutes, but I want to tell you to hit up our social sites, retweet, share, comment, like, do all of that stuff. It can only help us out and it'll make the show even better. But we're getting ready to give you a lot of good Ole Miss information, and I just thought I would tell you that because the Palmcast is starting. Well, it's starting right now. Wait, no, that's a little early. It is starting right about now. Hey, welcome. We've made it to Tuesday on Thanksgiving week. I'm Stephen Willis. Thank you for making this show your first listen of the day. We got a lot of stuff to get to today. Today is the Know Thy Enemy episode of the Palmcast. We're also going to do press conference highlights from yesterday, and we'll talk a little bit about the week's events that are coming up. This is just a reminder, there will be no Palmcast next Tuesday. A little bit of medical thing I have to take care of. There'll be no Palmcast that day. So appreciate your patience and thank you very much. Also this week, tonight, SEC After Dark. I know that's normally a Wednesday thing, but it's going to be tonight. And we're going to try and record and get Biscuits and SEC to you by Thanksgiving morning. We are going to have stuff for you Thanksgiving, including a Palmcast that we are going to do live just like now. Just a reminder, I can see the chat, so if you chat in there, if you participate at all, I'll be able to see it, so interact with the show, even if you can't see it. The way you do that is to chat on the live stream, whether YouTube or Twitch or Facebook, and they will show up on my end, so we can do that as well. Before we get started, I do want to tell you about Travel and Cruise World. That's 1-800-330-7461. Again, that's 1-800-330-7461. Basically what I was trying to do. We're 20 months into this at this time, and they can provide a resource to you on the ground. You can find out what's going on, mask mandates, a whole 9 yards, so no surprises hit you that can affect your vacation, because everybody needs a vacation right now. So that's 1-800-330-7461, travelandcruiseworld.com. See Central Florida like a local. Today on the show, we're going to talk a little bit about Know Thy Enemy, Mississippi State. We're going to go over their stats. We're going to talk a little bit about the press conference highlights, and we'll do the week that was. Now, looking at Mississippi State, this is a good team. Don't think they're not a good team. Don't think that anything can come of it. They're a good team. And the game is being played in Starkville. Now, there's some weather advantages that we're going to get into tomorrow, potentially, that Ole Miss could have. But Mississippi State, I mean, it's interesting. Will Rogers is like 435 of 572, completing 76% of his passes for 4,113 yards, 4,113 yards, 34 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. That's something else. He does a really good job of going through his progressions. And because of that, you'll see this next part. The leading receiver this year is Mekhi Polk, the transfer from Cal. Good receiver. But second is Jaquavius Marks. Third is Dylan Johnson. So you see a lot of checkdowns to backs. And it's going to be very important that the defense tackles well in space. They want to spread you out sideline to sideline that they're doing and do that. So, and once they get you moving, they can hit you on these seam routes to Austin Williams or Jaden Wally or those guys, or hit you with a slot fade or something to Mekhi Polk. So that's something to pay attention to as well. Running backs, they have two backs that have run for, Dylan Johnson has run for 406 yards on 78 carries, and Jaquavius Marks has run for 343 yards on 90 carries. It would have been a heck of a trick if it was on 9 carries. They don't run the ball much. They do a lot of inside zone from time to time. Even their toss plays is designed to be a reception. So whenever they do the shotgun toss sweep, it's designed to be a reception. He's going to toss it forward. I don't know why. I don't know what's going on with that, but that's what they do. I mean, but you saw Lane kind of do that to try and pad stats as well. They've got 10 receptions on the year. And they do not force many fumbles. Or do not recover many fumbles. They only have 4 fumble recoveries and 10 interceptions on the year. They don't appear to be a great sack team defensively. And the defense, Tyrus Wheat is the top dog. Legitimately, with 6 sacks and 9 tackles for loss. They're a havoc defense. Zach Arnett is from the Joe Lee Dunn school. So he does things that Joe Lee Dunn kind of started doing way back when, the godfather of the 3-5. Zach Arnett does a lot of the same stuff. So there is that. Mississippi State is averaging 31 points a game, and they're giving up 24. They're 55th in defense, 44th in offense, so they're kind of middle of the road there. Now, if you want to compare that against Ole Miss, which, some might, their Ole Miss is 60th against in scoring defense, which is the top half of the country. We talked about this all season. Everybody liked to make fun of me whenever I was asking the question because they didn't think Ole Miss could get there. But I asked the question over and over and over again. What would Ole Miss look like if they had a top 60 defense? They had a top 70 defense. That level was what I was interested in. They were laughing at me because they were like Ole Miss would be in the hundreds again. Because this is the thing about media and fanhood, and I think it's based off of the narrative of the media that affects the fans. But fans believe the current situation, no matter what it is, is going to last forever. No change. They don't want any change, really. If you lost the game last week, the Vanderbilt game, they're going to use that to try and draw a data point going through to the Mississippi State game to try and make that predictive. It's not predictive, but narratively they need to be able to do that because otherwise it actually requires a little bit of knowledge about the sport. But if you use data points and try and project those forward, yeah, it's a funny thing. But the thing to remember about the media and the fans is what just happened, they expect always will happen. That's going to be a currently infinite state for as long as it can be. And that's just the way they think it is. I don't know why. It's bizarre. It's absolutely bizarre. But Ole Miss offensively is 18th in the country. So it's 18th and 60 Ole Miss, and Mississippi State is 44th scoring offense and 55th scoring defense. Arkansas beat these guys. I think 31-28. State missed a couple of field goals, but the way it stands, they were able to run the ball a little bit on that defense. And that's going to be important for this game because of the potential weather, because of the cold. I think the team that runs the ball the best will be at a great advantage. The low temperature is supposed to be like 29, 30 degrees. It's going to be hard. We saw this whenever the Phil Longo experience was in Oxford. We saw this. And as it gets cold, and as it gets colder, the air raid struggles. It becomes less effective than it was in September and October. It's like a race to get to a certain number of winds before it gets too cold. Because once it cools down and gets into freezing temperatures like that, that ball is going to become really slick, really hard. And honestly, you don't want to be slinging it around. You don't want it in the air that much because this game, as much as any game, can be determined by turnovers. Now, I expect Snoop Connor to play a major role in this game, especially in the second half. I expect Jerry and Ely to be the starter in the game, and Henry Parrish the spare. But if the weather is the way it is projected, it is not a good thing for Mississippi State, and it is going to be important for the Ole Miss running backs. Hey, Cody, Hotty toddy, man. And that is what, kind of what I'm looking at. I'm thinking run game for Ole Miss at this point and weather affecting the air raid. Now, it could be nice and all of a sudden they could blow the forecast because that's completely socially acceptable to blow, a weatherman to be wrong. So if it's like 50 degrees and no wind, yeah, it's going to be a regular normal style ball game. But if it truly is 29 degrees and with a 60% chance of rain, a chance of freezing rain on Thanksgiving, that's probably going to be a bad situation for the air raid up there in Starkville. So we're going to do a little PC highlights here real quick. Talk about that, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit more about the game before we get into the weekend that will be. Stick around.
All right, so strange schedule this week. Full practice today. Putting all the situations really into one because this is basically our only real day of practice. So it's challenging is what it is. Very good opponent coming up. Extremely hard place to play. Very loud. Full place that, makes you have a lot of challenges on offense to have to play in a place like that in the SEC. So best passing offense in the country and one of the best rush defenses in the country also. That gives you a lot of problems. It's very multiple and has a lot of really good, long, strong players on defense. So they've done a phenomenal job recruiting too.
He's not as mobile as some of the other quarterbacks we face in terms of what he likes to do, but he's definitely capable. So that's always something you have to respect because he has the speed and the athleticism to be a good running quarterback, but he's also super accurate. So they're completing a super high percentage of their passes. So knowing that, understanding that, and trying to be quick on your breaks and get the receivers, try to close some of those windows will be really important.
I didn't think I was done for the year, so the only way I was just really thinking is attack rehab hard and just try my best every week, come back, seeing my guys play every week, motivate me every day to come in and rehab twice, 3 times a day. So it's just a blessing to be back.
It really is amazing. Kind of goes against what you would think. I think there was a thought out there amongst a lot of people, including coaches, that the SEC had kind of figured it out last year and they had slowed down, had slowed them down there throughout the parts of the year. And then, obviously that wasn't the case because now they're right back to where they started a season ago, like that LSU game, leading the country in passing offense. So it really is amazing because you would not think you'd be able to be so simple in what you do and continue to work.
A lot of those things that you just mentioned, it's a deep-seated rivalry and it's a lot of intensity. It's a physical game. I think one of the things that I'm kind of lucky about is being new to this and having it be such a short turnaround. Most of the conversations have really been all about football, which is something that I really enjoy. I think it's important to understand and to respect the rivalry that goes on. But when it's all about football, you don't really get lost in that as much, and that's nice for me.
It was really just letting it rest some more. The projected time was 4 to 6 weeks, and last week was 6 on the dot. So just more rest and just being out there with my guys. It felt good playing the first half, and just looking forward to being out there Thursday.
I don't know them that well to know the order of the games and all that. I just know the quarterbacks played really well. Receivers started making a ton of plays, and for whatever reason, they seemed to start slow a lot of times, all the way back to I did see the Louisiana Tech game when that was on that day. And, they've had these unbelievable comebacks, and another one, against Auburn. So it really has been amazing.
Yeah, it's going to be a big game. You can hear them talking. You can hear the focus that is in their voice, especially Chance Campbell whenever they're drafting. Cody had a question. It's do you think, honestly, our defense is good enough to cover better than they have all year? Honestly, pass defense hasn't been a problem for us this year. If you look at the stats, the problems have been with mobile quarterbacks and them affecting the run game. That is the area that we need to get better. That's not really going to be an issue. Whenever we've played non-mobile quarterbacks all year, the defense has really stood up. Whenever they played Texas A&M, they just dominated from beginning to end. Same thing happened to LSU. But whenever it's a mobile quarterback and you have to commit one of those defenders in the back seven to spy a quarterback, I think it messes up the defense a little bit. They need a little bit of time to get a little bit better because this is a build. I mean, they were 128 or something in scoring defense last year. Right now they are 60th. They're doing something right. They are a bad first half at Auburn, away from having 5 games under 20 points. That's pretty phenomenal, and I think the Ole Miss defense has a pretty good bit to say going into this game. And I think that Ole Miss is going to be able to kind of establish themselves. Now, State's going to do the things they want to do. But the trick is, and this is the defensive coordinator, what DJ Durkin has to figure out. When it comes to Mike Leach's offense, you want to force the read to where he's going to throw the ball in a certain place. You're going to go up and tackle, and they want them to do that over and over again. It's kind of like whenever you press in basketball. You want them to inbound the ball, and you're willing to give that up to a certain area of the court because it puts your press in a better position. Now, I think Sam Williams, I'm just about to get to that, Cody. Good call there. I think Sam Williams and Cedric Johnson, those guys are going to have the game of their life. I think they are going to blitz from time to time. They're going to alternate between Mark Robinson and Chance Campbell. And they are going to blitz over and over again. Because I think Ole Miss is going to send 4 every play, but you're not going to know where that 4th is coming from. I think that is the secret sauce of this defense this time, is you're not going to know where the 4th comes from. And on some plays, Otis Reese could come and send everybody. Some plays, Chance Campbell. Some plays, Mark Robinson. Some plays, Jake Springer. And I think it's going to come from all angles. And I think they're going to try and take advantage of the offensive line in a couple of positions. I think Scott Lashley has struggled from time to time this season. I think they're going to try and figure out a way to make him think about what's going on. And you could have Sam Williams and Jake Springer on the same side. Which one are they coming? How are they doing? Because if you slide that way, then all of a sudden Jake Springer might not be coming, and they could be blitzing from the other end like Otis Reese or something like that. So I'm really interested to see how this is going to turn out. Now, they're blocking 5 every time. So if we rush 3, they have a chance to double team 2 of the players, and 1 player is a one-on-one. And you see the one player that's one-on-one. Now, it could be Katie Hill. It's probably not going to be Sam Williams. It's probably not going to be Cedric Johnson. But they have 5 blockers and the running back, if they're staying in, to pick up a rush. The person that is one-on-one needs to win some. No matter how this shakes out, the person that is one-on-one, whether it's Katie Hill or Cedric Johnson or whoever, needs to win some. And if you do that, that is going to speed up the clock of Will Rogers. He's going to have to work at a higher rate of speed than he is used to. And with all team sports, football, basketball, soccer, it doesn't matter. If you can speed up your teammate or your opponent to a level that they are not comfortable, you are in the advantage. So the goal is to try and speed that up. So you do that various zone blitzes. You're probably going to see some split coverage. I think last year the backs were man-to-man, but there were zone behind it. And some things like that. You're going to be able to see that as a way to defend the air raid a little bit. Now, State's going to throw the ball. If they have the ball 70 plays, they're going to throw it 55. That's just what they are, what they do. They're going to get first downs. They're going to make yardage. If that bothers you, you're going to have a long Thanksgiving night. And it's the game that potentially could look a lot, honestly, like last year's game. That's what I keep coming back to. The 31-24, 31-17. That's kind of what I'm coming back to. Also, with Mississippi State's defense, whenever we do tempo, they are big on doing the double A-gap blitz. Like whenever we go to repeat a play and do a fast tempo, they're going to do a double A-gap blitz to try and blow that up. I think that the response to that by Jeff Lebby and the guys, since they know what Mississippi State wants to do, might be a little bit of sprint out game. You might see a little bit of that Norm Chow offense come out. You might see some picks and things like that. Matt Corral throwing on the run and getting outside. You're going to see some outside zone. You're going to see them do heavy tempo. Like they get 6 yards on first down, they come back 4, heavy tempo, and all of a sudden, instead of an inside zone where that double A-gap blitz is coming, you might see an outside zone at that point. I think you're going to see Mississippi State run a couple of zero blitz. They're going to, with Jonathan Mingo and all that, especially if the weather is going to be poor. They might feel a little bit better with heavy blitz schemes to try and stop the run. It's going to be important that we do a decent number of pop passes and things like that to free up the team. I think you're going to see Jerry and Ely and such running speed sweeps. There's a bunch of stuff going on out there. These are two fairly evenly matched teams. I mean, it's evenly a match enough to where it should be scary, honestly. And because of that, I think it's going to look really interesting. And then the weird thing about this is, and I was thinking about this the other day, for years and years and years, Mississippi State played a certain way. I mean, until Mike Leach, they were run, all the way up until 2 years ago. I mean, even with Dan Mullen, they were run. Now they've completely changed to pass the ball. Ole Miss is doing the Baylor stuff, which I love that offense, and it never needs to change. And it just looks so good on TV whenever they're going against each other and the different styles of playing. It looks like modern football. And as somebody that played MHSAA, I played in high school, which I didn't play that long ago. I mean, I was in high school in the 90s, but we played at Columbia, and they were legitimately running the Notre Dame box. So to have Mississippi State and Ole Miss running two very modern systems, it kind of just makes me feel good. It makes everything nice and warm and cuddly, and I'm pretty excited about that. But it's going to be a good game. Understand that. It's going to be a good game. The betting line right now is down to 1 point on the VI consensus. It's down to 1 point. So it's essentially a pick 'em. I mean, that's what 1 point means. You might as well do the pick 'em. Just don't even mess with the line. Because you can't tie. So the 1 point does no good. Either Ole Miss is going to win by 1 and you lose, or Mississippi State's going to win by 1 and you push. If you'd have taken that money line of Mississippi State winning, you'd be in better shape. I think the over-under is at 60. I would pound the under on that just because of the weather. Like I said, it's going to be 29, 30 degrees, 60% chance of rain. There's a chance of freezing rain out there. And like I said, there's a chance for this game to get really sloppy and really egg bowl. And just like I told you yesterday, when really weird things happen, Ole Miss is the beneficiary of them. Traditionally in the series, immaculate deflection, the stand, there's just weird moments that have popped up in the series history. And because of that, I mean, it's time to really enjoy this. We got one more day to talk about the Egg Bowl. We're going to get into a little bit. We're going to do a position-by-position breakdown tomorrow. And that's probably what we're going to do. Relatively short show. I'm going to record Biscuits and SEC's preview tomorrow. And that's going to be available on Thanksgiving morning. So as soon as you wake up on Thanksgiving morning, the Biscuits and SEC preview should be there. Talking Ball with Bill Flowers should be available tonight. And SEC After Dark is airing tonight. So you'll get SEC After Dark. Bank them for your trip if you're driving to Starkville. If you need something to listen to just while Thanksgiving's going on, there's going to be several options on this channel. So also, Locked On Ole Miss podcast is going to start December 13th. The Palmcast, what you see now, is going away December 3rd. This will become the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. And it'll have a different YouTube channel. It'll have a different podcast feed. Once we have those, I will let you know what's going on. Because I want everybody that's watching this to be able to watch that. Because it's the same show. I'm planning on doing that the same way I do it now. So it's going to be a live stream every day at 10 o'clock Central. And, it's 30 minutes long. I mean, it's basically what you have right now. So that's not going to change. It's just going to change how you consume it. I think our YouTube page, on the Y'all's Conference Network YouTube page, I'm going to link the playlist and have a playlist of basically the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. So it'll just automatically go to that YouTube page. It's not going to be on Twitter. It's not going to be on Facebook. It's not going to be on Twitch. But we're going to put links to the YouTube page on Facebook and Twitter. So that's what we're looking at. It was their money. They get to do what they want to do. They're going to pay me basically $400 a month to do the same thing I've been doing for the last year. So that's the reason I'm changing. So we were talking about, as this grew, it was all about like just trying to keep the lights on a little bit. We don't want to get rich doing this, but we want to keep the lights on a little bit. And they're providing us an opportunity to do that. So that's the reason the Y'all's Conference Network and the shows, those are still going to go on as scheduled and as normal. Nothing's going to change with them. It's just we got to figure out how to handle this Locked On Ole Miss podcast, and I think it's just going to be linking the playlist to that YouTube page and sending links out there, because basically they have several sponsors, and as soon as I get the show, I'm going to have 5 or 6 sponsors, and they bill the advertising rate per 1,000 views. So that determines how much they pay, is per 1,000 views. And so that's the reason they want it to stay on YouTube and on their podcast stream, so they can add those up together. But we're going to try to make this as seamless as possible and as easy as possible. But I think in the future that this is really going to help us out. And also December 15th, besides me starting my radiation treatment, we're planning on doing an early signing day show as part of the Y'all's Conference Network. Just like this, just like you watch it now, we're planning on an early signings day show to do that morning, couple hours in there, and figure out what's going on. We might have to record the Locked On podcast that day, the night before, or something like that. So we'll have to figure out how that does and what's going on with that. So it is what it is. Today, doing orientation for the Locked On stuff, and it should be a lot of fun. But thank you, everybody, for watching, for tuning in. Like I said, I truly have a great time doing this, and thank you very much. Thanks for interacting, Cody and William, in the stream. And like I said, we're going to keep going. It might look a little different, but it's going to be the same thing. So just be patient with us. All right. We will see you tomorrow, and I hope everybody has a good day. And of course, hotty toddy.